1, 2, 3.
Hello. That's too bright. I just want to quickly thank Jack Rhysider.
I'm Jack Rhysider.
For the research and podcast he did on this topic, because he provided an extremely handy resource. That'll be in the description below. If you found this video, you likely know of Ross Ulbricht and the Silk Road. Just briefly for those who don't, Ross Ulbricht is the founder of the Silk Road and was the first, and at the time of it being taken down, largest darknet market, which is a marketplace in which you need to use an onion browser like Tor to access. And they generally deal in illegal goods like drugs and firearms, for example. 2 years later, we get introduced to our main character. May 2015, an account is registered on the Dream Market with the username Oxymonster. 6 months later, the account is promoted to administrator, which implies he was already within the community before joining. Early 2016, the DEA has identified the Dream Market and they pose as buyers, purchasing from 3 vendors of interest, that being Digital Posse 2014, Reximus Maximus, and Meth for Dummies. I love that name. January 2017, the DEA found a link to a forum called Dread on the Dream Market. Dread was basically just a forum akin to something like Reddit, but for the purpose of people engaging in criminal activities to talk to each other, giving tips for packaging, handling disputes, that type of thing. Well, the DEA found Oxymonster on Dread. He was helping people on the forum, which is also how they discovered he was a Dream Market admin. A post from March 2016, written by Oxymonster, caught the attention of the DEA because it was a list of active mods on the site, and that any that were not on the list weren't to be trusted. Someone who's supposed to be the herald of information like that is likely a very trusted individual. June 2017, the DEA has established Oxymonster was selling OxyContin and Ritalin on the Dream Market with 60 sales and positive reviews. Here's 2 screenshots I found of his account. The first one is low quality, but displays his PGP key, which is what people use to make Bitcoin transactions, while the second image is of a higher quality, but doesn't display his PGP key. Like an OnlyFans girl, he left his link tree on every post in the form of a footer asking people to consider tipping him at a linked Bitcoin address if the post was helpful. It also linked his account on TradeRoute, which is another dark web marketplace. This confirmed he was selling drugs there as well, and also had a link to his tip jar. On top of that, it also allowed them to establish that he was a mod on the now defunct Evolution dark market. In July 2017, Alpha Bay and Hansa were some of the largest dark web markets, so the FBI commenced Operation Bayonet, which is, I shit you not, a triple pun, using the word Bay for Alpha Bay and the word net for internet and catching the bad guys. Whose dad do they have working on the names over at the FBI? Anyway, they arrested the founder of Alpha Bay, Alexander Kazes, in Thailand, taking the site down in the process. That was insane by the end. They created an artificial system failure so he would reboot the server, and as a result, wouldn't be able to erase any data, then crashed a fucking car through his front crate, and then arrested him when he came out to investigate. 8 days later, he died an hour before his hearing for his extradition to the US for trial, suspected to have game-ended himself. Around the same time as part of the same operation, multiple law enforcement agencies worked together on taking down Hansa, which sent a huge amount of the community to the Dream Market, which Oxymonster was already registered on. A month later, in August, he became an official vendor for the Dream Market and began shipping to the USA. Around August 2017, the DEA were looking into the Bitcoin wallet tip jar that he left in his footer. With software, you can put a Bitcoin address in and check the transactions that is partaken in, and the DEA was using this to track what was going out of the tip jar. Oxymonster wasn't even using a tumbler to launder his money, even though the Dream Market provides one. He was just sending the Bitcoin straight to the exchange localbitcoins.com, which did not request ID and was based in Finland. The DEA worked with the Finnish authorities to uncover details about his identity, but unfortunately all they got was the username tied to the account that did the transaction. Fortunately, this dumbass used the username Valerius. They very quickly linked this to a 36-year-old French dude who had accounts on Instagram and Twitter, as well as a citizenship in not only France, but also England and Israel. He was living in Brittany, France. Hang on. Speak to me. Safe travels. Catch up. Okay. Where was I? Only France, but also England and Israel. He was living in Brittany, France with his wife and child, and his name was, can you guess? Gal Valerius. They were pretty sure they had their guy, but they had to be certain, so they cross-referenced posts from the dark web and his social media accounts to look for similarities in writing style. Some examples are the fact that both Gal Valerius and Oxymonster used chairs a lot, and also occasionally wrote in French with double exclamation marks. I'd say it's pretty damning, yeah. The DA also discovered his keen interest in beards. They found that he had a waist-length beard and was a competitor in the World Beard and Mustache Championships, as well as being an active user of the app Beard Wars. He was funnily enough flying out to Austin, Texas for a 3-day-long beard competition on September 1st, 2017, right into the warm, loving embrace of the DEA. The DEA contacted Homeland Security and worked with them to concoct a plan to detain him while he was coming through customs in the airport and check through his digital devices, but they needed more evidence before September 1st to actually indict him.
it'll be over a short period. For any that get unlucky enough to win fast, you continue, you're gonna lose it. It doesn't matter. You understand? Casinos are profitable for a reason. Do not get it twisted.
They got it twisted. They decided to take the gamble and just assume he would bring his devices with him so that he could tend to his business overseas. And they were just going to crack that bitch open and get the evidence from that. August 31st, 2017. The day before the competition was to occur, Oxymonster flew from Paris to Atlanta, Georgia with his wife, Yasmin, where they were stopped at customs and informed that they were going to undergo a routine check for child. Why is this their excuse? Who the fuck smuggles child? Wouldn't you just send that over the internet via encrypted links or something? Generally, it's physical items you have to smuggle, not data, but regardless, they were taken to the carousel so they could claim ownership of their bags, which might I add, that bit is in quotation marks in the document. So this is a definitely he's fucked moment if he does this. The couple of course complies, so they search their bags and find Oxymonster's Samsung laptop, his iPhone, and iPad. They requested his passwords, and probably because he thinks they're looking for child and not an electronically based drug empire, he gives it to them. And again, with the quotation marks, without hesitation, it states. This is pretty stupid because although it may be suspicious to them as to why you're keeping your devices locked, there's not a lot they can do about it. All cases have come to a standstill because of one password protected device, and generally when iPhones, for example, are stolen, they have to break it down for parts rather than get in and reset the phone and sell the data or device after it's been reset. The only documented time I can find of law enforcement being able to crack open an iPhone was when they outsourced the job to a security firm. Regardless, he unlocked his devices and gave it over to who we thought was just border security, who ended up leaving with them and not returning for 2 whole hours. During this time, in the room over from Oxymonster, they discovered an application on his desktop called Wallet, which they thought was locked. They also discovered Tor and login details for the Dream Market, as well as a PGP key titled Oxymonster, which was confirmed to match the key on Oxymonster's Dream Market account, which served as the primary piece of evidence that linked his 2 identities, Gal Valerius and Oxymonster. They went and asked for the password to the Bitcoin wallet, and Oxymonster simply told them there was no password. Fuck knows why they thought there was, because they opened it just fine after that. However, it contained 500,000 in Bitcoin. He was then arrested for conspiracy to distribute narcotics and then read his Miranda rights. They questioned him about the Bitcoin, and this absolute genius claimed he entered his bank account and bought it all like some freak degenerate crypto gambler. He then asked for a lawyer, and the federal agent stopped the interview. On the following day, September 1st, a search warrant was granted for a full search of Oxymonster's digital devices, which confirmed the evidence accrued at the airport. Considering the bear competition was going on the same day, let's have a look at the competitors he would have been up against and how I reckon he would have fared. But first, an excerpt from 2 fellow Bear Wars users. Essentially, the way the app worked was by players betting chips on their own bed against another person's bed. Other players would then vote with their own chips on who was better. Brian Nelson, who was the co-founder of the event Oxymonster was planning on attending, also happened to be a Bear Wars user, and a pretty renowned one at that. Him and his mate MJ Johnson would consistently rank first and second until out of nowhere, a user called Barber started beating them with shitloads of chips. I'm assuming that you made the connection that Barber is Oxymonster yourself. Anyway, it got to the point where he had more chips than MJ Johnson and Brian Nelson combined. Johnson is quoted to have said, "You could see the false accounts were being created to make bets. As soon as I saw the story and saw he was a computer guy, it all made sense." Johnson also described Gal, stating that he always seemed like a fun, carefree person. I don't know anything about the other stuff he did, but as far as his beard goes, it's really awesome, long and bright red, which in my opinion is kind of cute. The beard growing community sounds wholesome. He registered for the full beard 30.1 to 45 centimeter category against 26 other competitors. Alright, so we have first place, which is Michael Wallen. This guy is a fucking actual cape on his face. Holy shit. So I mean, I think it's pretty reasonable that he got first. The second place guy has a bit of a Redditor feel to him, honestly. I don't know, the length doesn't really impress me that much, but I think it's not really about the length. I think it's more about how well they groom it and stuff. But if it was about length only, then I think, yeah, Oxymonster had a chance at seconds. And then we get to the third guy. Honestly, I feel bad for him that he didn't get fucking first or second, bro. This guy has a fucking shrub, a fucking bush on his face. Yeah, anyway, back to Oxymonster. He was denied bail and stayed within custody of the US. 7 months after his arrest, in March 2018, his lawyers filed to have the evidence gathered from Oxymonster's devices to be ruled inadmissible in court, as this would allow Oxymonster to potentially beat the case. Their reasoning was the that he had voluntarily handed over the devices before his Miranda rights were read, and that it was voluntary due to the false pretense that they were looking for child, and that he didn't consent for them to look for his login details, Bitcoin, and anything else that linked him to the darknet. This took a while to go anywhere, but before it did, on April 24th, he got yet another charge added to his indictment, that being conspiracy to commit money laundering. Law enforcement found through their investigation that it wasn't just Oxycontin and Ritalin that he was dealing, but also LSD, cocaine, methamphetamine, heroin, and fentanyl. It just sounds like I'm naming the ingredients of the bloody tripper snipper at this point.
Oh, you know, the use. Speed, weed, heroin, cocaine, mushrooms, clean, petrol, battery acid, salvia, meth, some herbs and spices and some lettuce and tomato, vodka sauce, bam and the dirt is gone, Ajax spray and wipe, some chicken and cheese, all wrapped in a tortilla.
As of May 1st, 2018, the motion for the evidence on his devices to be inadmissible in court was obliviated, along with any chance he was going to beat the case. On May 10th, 2018, the prosecution made a motion to include his entire criminal history within the trial. At this point, he was fucked. It included information that linked him to the aforementioned Silk Road, Alpha Bay, and Hansa, as well as Silk Road 2 and numerous other marketplaces under the username of Gehenna, which means hell in Hebrew, and I hope I said that right. Oxymonster was selling drugs on Hansa so prolifically that there's chat logs of him talking to Dutch police, which was turned over to the DEA, along with all the other info they accrued before taking Hansa down. June 12th, 2018, he entered a plea deal and pled guilty to both of the dealing charges, that being Ritalin and Oxycontin, as well as conspiracy to commit money laundering, and handed over all of his Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash, which at the time would have been worth $700,000. Nowadays, that's in the millions, baby. What does the FBI, DEA, US government, whatever, do with all that Bitcoin they seize? Arms stealing, buying drugs, drone striking hospitals? Oh wait, no, sorry, they used taxpayer dollars for that one. In reality, Bitcoin has been treated as an asset since the aforementioned Ross Ulbricht arrest, and as a result, it gets sent to the marshals to dispose of, who just end up auctioning it off to the highest bidder for money. They ended up making $66 million through auctioning off the Bitcoin seized from the Silk Road. However, that was years later, and in the case of Oxymonster's Bitcoin, we will likely never know what the government will do with that or when they'll sell it. Regardless, correct me if I'm wrong, but fairly certain that reading this document from the plea deal reveals that Oxymonster could have been charged with having dealt at least 90 grams of heroin, 2.25 kilograms of cocaine, 7 grams of crack, 22.5 grams of methamphetamine, 2 grams of Oxycontin, 9 grams of Ritalin, and finally 14.4 grams of fentanyl if he had not entered the plea deal. Pretty fucking absurd numbers, especially considering the sentence that Oxymonster would receive, which we will get to after we address one more event on the timeline. During September 2018, 2 letters are sent to the judge pleading for Oxymonster's freedom. One is from his wife Yasmin, and the other Chloe, who appears to be a close friend. Yasmin sent the following letter in Hebrew on September 8th. Hello sir, Gal asked me to send to you letter in Hebrew, so here it is. My name is Yasmin Valerius. I'm Gal's wife. I was heartbroken when they took him from me. He was everything to me. He always took care of me and made sure that I would not be deprived of anything. On the day they took him, my world collapsed. Gal is a very caring person, very loving and friendly with everybody. He is always smiling and laughing. He is also a very fragile and sensitive man who is now in a foreign country far away from any family members. His arrest broke him mentally. He has lost everything. I know he's regretting everything, and I know he'll never make the same mistake. Please, Your Honor, have mercy on him. Gal has undergone a huge jolt, and he deserves a second chance to prove that he will be a better citizen. He deserves another chance. Please, Your Honor. All his friends and family miss him. Thank you very much, Your Honor. Yasmin Valerius. All very heartfelt, and I don't think I can make a single comment which would serve it justice. Which brings us to the second letter from Chloe Morvat, sent it September 12th. Madam Sir, I hereby attest knowing Mr. Gal Valerius for a few years. As years go by, this man has become a friend since we met at a restaurant that we both frequent. Gal loves to talk about different things, to learn new French words. He is a jovial man and very likable. I regularly ate with him and his wife, Yasmin, at their home. Gal likes to take care of animals, chickens, rabbits, etc., and he appreciates very much the peace of the countryside to take walks, to breathe, to observe nature, and he loved to show photos of his outings. I think Gal is an impressive person, not because of his appearances. He is a funny friend, and he listens. He loves to have fun. For example, likes to decorate his house for Halloween and have fireworks on his birthday. Disregarding the language barrier, how does she expect the judge to react? He decorates his house on Halloween? People on my street only bother decorating for Christmas. I must acquit this man of his international drug trafficking charges on the scale of a criminal organization. On October 9th, 2018, almost exactly a year after his indictment, he got 20 years in prison. As much as that is my whole life, that sounds pretty lenient for a US drug trafficking sentence of this scale. Now, also consider the fact that the FBI has full access to Oxymonster's computer, plus they have his login details on the Dream Market. Considering Oxymonster is an admin on the Dream Market, and it has been for years, this is pretty detrimental, at least for the Dream Market. I mean, the DEA and FBI would have access to chat logs and deals dating back to at least May of 2015, unless Oxymonster had cleared them. It's nigh impossible for Oxymonster to have informed his compatriots on the darknet of his apprehension, so it's highly possible that the FBI managed to save all those details and prod around a bit before losing access to admin privileges or even the accounts. Considering Operation Saboteur, yet another fucking dad joke, where the FBI ended up DDoSing the Dream Market shortly after all this, I'm gonna assume they took full advantage. I was looking for recent news on Oxymonster, specifically his current whereabouts, as in what prison he's housed in, but it just led me to this absolute gremlin, William Walsheen. He's trying to use the Oxymonster case as an advert through the form of using it as an example of why you'd want a lawyer, which if you ask me seems like the least effective form of advertising. For one, Oxymonster is in jail right now, and two, William didn't even work on that case. Also, thirdly, considering the general clientele of a lawyer, I can't imagine they're questioning whether or not they need one either. Like, just pause and read this shit. He literally writes how I do and I'm shit posting in my resume. So yeah, that's the end of the Oxymonster saga for now. If you enjoyed the video, please drop a like and subscribe with the notification bell active to see my upcoming video, because this video was merely a response to the schizophrenic ramblings of a friend, and not the reason why I haven't uploaded in so long. You can thank an upcoming project focused around AI for that. Here's a clip so you can get an idea of why.
Hey. he makes his way over to the jukebox, which is playing a tune from the pre-apocalyptic era. He inserts a few coins into the machine and selects a track by Nas. The jukebox changes its tune and Nas's music fills the tavern, momentarily drowning out the chatter of patrons.
Yeah, I don't intend to drag this one out back with a double barrel and send it to the farm with a nice sunset like the Fallout New Vegas video kinda has been, so hopefully see you guys in that video soon. Oh yeah, and I almost forgot. I don't actually need these glasses, I was just reading a script the whole time.